Good morning. Thank you for joining Visit Jersey's 2021 business briefing. Usually at this time of the year, we'd be getting together in person at a fabulous location in Jersey to present our forecasts and our plans for the year ahead. But as you know, this is no usual year. We would have loved the opportunity to present in person. However, thankfully, through the power of technology, we're still able to meet up, albeit in a different way. I'd like to start by saying that at Visit Jersey, we know how hard it has been for businesses over the last 9 months and the existential crisis many of you have faced. And we know that at the moment, it is especially hard for our industry in Jersey. So I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for your resilience, your determination and innovation in doing all that you can do to protect your businesses and our tourism and hospitality industry. We did discuss whether we should consider postponing this session until the new year, but the purpose of today's briefing is to outline Visit Jersey's approach to recovering our tourism industry as we look forward to 2021 and beyond. And so we felt it was really important to outline that way forward today. I'm not going to present the spring-summer campaign or show any creative. That's going to happen over the coming weeks. But what I'd like to do is update you today on the approach that Visit Jersey will be taking to ensure we're able to seize every opportunity we can to make that recovery as fast and effective as possible, and to highlight how we can work together to make that happen. While we still have challenging times ahead, as our knowledge and our response to how we deal with the virus advances, and with the really exciting announcements about the vaccines rollout, there is light emerging at the end of a very, very long tunnel. Our approach next year is simple. We're going to focus on the key drivers of growth. We know that as the travel and tourism industry begins to recover, Jersey will be operating in a highly competitive environment. Governments will be spending more money promoting tourism. Transport providers will be looking to markets and destinations that will provide the greatest profitability. And consumers will be exposed to heavyweight advertising and promotional activity to stimulate demand. We believe that Jersey will be well placed to realise travel demand opportunities and recover quickly if we can use advertising and PR to drive awareness, keeping Jersey front of mind so that when travellers are ready to book again, Jersey is on their wish list. Focusing on access and connectivity to Jersey, working closely with the ports of Jersey, with Condor and our airline partners to do all that we can to encourage the return of connections and the development of new routes to Jersey. Working with the travel trade to programme more Jersey itineraries and widen our distribution channels. Focus on those markets and customer segments primed to deliver the quickest and greatest number of holiday bookings to Jersey, and to define and tell unique, compelling stories of Jersey experiences that will motivate our prospective customers to want to come to visit Jersey. As a team and working with you, our partners, our ways of working will also need to change to ensure we prepare for a range of scenarios. We will think long and short term, adapt and pivot our activity when we need to, and prepare for shorter planning cycles. And particularly important will be that we do everything we can to recover our visitor economy in 2021, to provide the base for stronger, longer term recovery. I don't want to dwell too much on the impact of COVID on our economy this year, as I want to concentrate on our future and our way forward. However, I think it is worthwhile considering how the pandemic has affected our strategy and will influence our approach for next year and beyond. I believe that as we look towards the future and beyond the immediate challenges that we need to navigate, there are many opportunities for Jersey on the horizon. And there are already promising signs for how we can take advantage of the changes in traveller behaviours and demands in both the short and the long term. So let's have a quick recap on the impact and the changes which are already emerging. According to the UNWTO, between January and August this year, the world experienced a 70% decline in tourist arrivals with all regions similarly affected. And sadly, this was against a backdrop of 4% growth the year before. And this global impact is representative of Jersey's experience too. If we look at airline capacity to Jersey this year, we can see that until the pandemic struck, year on year in January and February, we were performing very well. And of course, everything changed in March, so that by November year to date, airline passenger numbers to Jersey were down by 75%. There are many other metrics I could use to illustrate the impact on our visitor economy, but access and capacity is important, as it doesn't just affect our tourism industry. Without our visitors, who account for 65% of those travellers, the viability of connectivity for all is affected. Tourism is part of Jersey's DNA and a key driver of building our reputation around the world. As many of you will know, its contribution to Jersey is immense, accounting for, in 2019, over 8% of the island's GVA, nearly 12% of our employment. We know it works in synergy with our financial, digital and agricultural industries in supporting our wonderful hospitality industry. And it provides diversity to our economy and the quality of life to islanders, who have experienced more than ever during this lockdown, that sense of place and pride in our island. Experts from around the world believe that recovery to 2019 levels may be as late as 2024. In Europe, most experts do not see a return to pre-pandemic levels before 2023. Working with Oxford Economics, Visit Jersey has been reviewing different recovery scenarios. And while the situation is still too volatile to confidently predict exactly when that recovery will take place, we believe that a number of contributing factors that will determine our bounce back rate. Access will play a critical role in Jersey's recovery. So we have to do all we can to recover our connectivity and ensure that routes remain commercially viable. The sooner the vaccine is rolled out, the faster our recovery will be. This will also support the quarantine controls in Jersey, which of course has to ensure the safety of islanders, but has been unfortunately to the detriment of visitors who have had to self-isolate. Economic uncertainty will influence consumer confidence too, alongside Brexit. But while we ride out these macroeconomic factors, many of which are out of our immediate control, we will tap into those markets and opportunities, reaching customer segments where Jersey can appeal and is the antidote to those concerns. One thing is for certain during this pandemic, there has been a lot of insight, research and opinion shared, alongside data analytics to try to predict how the travel industry will play out in the short, medium and long term. Science has shown it can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days for a person to form a new habit, and an average of 66 days for a new behaviour to become automatic. And the travel and hospitality industry has always been adept and at the forefront of adapting to and developing in the face of adversity. So what are those permanent changes going to be, and what is the future of the travel industry going to look like? Well, I think it depends on who you ask, and I'm certainly keen to know what Simon thinks a little bit later on today. If we think big and long term, possibly some travel companies will be channeling more funds into tech and AI. We have a rapidly growing interconnected ecosystems, able to collect consumer data from infinite data points, which could be highly disruptive with a possible colonisation of the travel industry by the likes of Amazon and Google. And what about a boom in regional and local tourism, including the mushrooming of local and regional companies? Big questions where the outcome is still uncertain. However, in terms of our more immediate impacts that are directly affecting travel in Jersey that we have to respond to now, we're responding to major changes and restructures. From airlines streamlining workforces and operations, reassessing their networks from a startup perspective with a keen focus on profitability, to tour operators who have sadly gone into administration, or the acquisition and merging of businesses. We're experiencing the acceleration of digital services, where tech can enhance both safety and customer experience. And we're also seeing a diversification of products. According to Travel Council research, 83% of tour operators are very likely to sell destinations, resorts and hotels they hadn't previously considered. And we believe there will be a significant increasing preference for booking through a travel professional. Recent APTA research suggests that due to the volatility caused by the pandemic, holidaymakers are 20% more likely to use a travel agent or operator now than before the pandemic, because of the security of a package holiday and the up-to-date advice and expertise that they bring. For many, holidays are sacrosanct. UK consumers are amongst the keenest in the world to travel once COVID restrictions are lifted, but we know that their priorities and demands will have changed, and we have to respond to this. Consumers are going to be asking for flexible booking conditions, cancellation policies, and shorter booking horizons. Trust is the new currency, and we know that hygiene has become more than just a hygiene factor, with customers needing reassurance about health, safety, and hygiene. The role of tech and automation can also help this to reassure and enhance our customers' experiences. And a real positive to have come out of the crisis is the growing demand for more sustainable travel, with a more considered tourism ethos, and even some wanting to give back as much as they take from a visit. These are all key consumer demands that give us a fantastic chance to work together with our industry partners to develop and promote. And here is where there are some really specific opportunities for Jersey to tap into as we enter the new normal. Over the coming years, there'll be a significant proportion of travellers looking for experiences that are closer to home. We've already seen the exponential rise in the domestic staycation markets this year, and we believe that next year this demand will continue, but with a preference for something a little bit different. An appetite for alternative destinations rather than the traditionally popular, overcrowded places. Destinations that provide authentic local experiences, which we know Jersey can offer in abundance. Consumers and media are placing much greater importance on things such as freedom, nature, escape, and not taking things for granted. The pause in travel has given us all the chance to reflect on the choices we make and what is really important to us, with more considered consumerism as well as the desire to get out into the great outdoors. So our response in 2021 will be to focus everything we do on those key drivers of growth: awareness, access, trade, experiences, and tapping into our best prospect markets. Forecasting specific visitor numbers and revenue targets for next year will depend on many factors, particularly access and connectivity, rollout of the vaccine, and how testing and quarantine at the borders will play out. So we are operating in a fog of uncertainty at the moment. But while the first half of the year may continue to have some turbulence, the second half should be more stable, with more clarity around how quickly we can recover the base. And we will certainly be sharing our visitor number and revenue projections with you when the outlook is more stable. In the meantime, this is the approach that Visit Jersey will be taking to recover as fast as possible. This will only be achievable by working together with you, our trade and industry partners. So while this is a summary of our direction of travel, we really want to work with you in developing the plans together and to help support your own activities and plans too. And based on these opportunities I've outlined, of the change in tourist behaviours and demands, there are already some really promising signs for the opportunities for Jersey. And let's not forget that while the world has been changing rapidly, Jersey is still here and our destination is more relevant than ever. Yes, we're operating in a rapidly changing and challenging environment, but our core brand proposition remains the same. Jersey's product and brilliance remains the same. So we're going to continue to promote Jersey in a way that engages and motivates those keen to travel, to capture the early movers once the borders reopen, inviting them to reconnect and revitalise and to rediscover our island. Our focus for 2021, ensuring competitive standout to drive brand awareness and desire to rediscover Jersey. Using insight to hone in on our best market prospects, targeting customer segments that are looking to revitalise and reconnect in Jersey. Working with industry in Jersey to define and develop experiences that motivate our target audiences, and optimising those access and trade relationships. In 2021, we're going to be focusing on the markets and customer segments which will deliver the quickest and the greatest number of bookings to Jersey. Really, every visitor counts next year. We believe the UK market will bounce back faster with new growth opportunities. There's already much pent-up demand for travel, and with the shift in British travellers wanting to stay closer to home, not wanting to travel too far, and Brexit uncertainty, we believe Jersey can benefit from this once connectivity resumes. We will focus on consumer, trade and PR to maximise the opportunity. The French and German markets will be more challenging to recover as quickly as the UK market. Our focus on Germany will be engaging with the trade and PR, and in France we will continue our PR activity too. These will be particularly important channels to help us inform audiences regarding changes in border controls due to Brexit, and it will also provide us insight as to how best to recover these markets in the medium to long term, as these markets remain vitally important to our diverse visitor economy. And one other thing we're about to undertake is some research to help size and inform the changing profiles of our best prospect markets. This will help us better understand opportunities to target new segments and what their motivations, attitudes, needs and behaviours are going to be. That will help us inform our marketing messages, the way that we communicate and our product development strategies. We know just how much Jersey has to offer to so many. We are a little island that packs a big punch when it comes to product offering, and there are so many stories that we can tell to engage and to inspire visitors throughout the year. Understanding what messaging is going to resonate most effectively with our audiences in the most emotional and engaging way will be critical as we come out of lockdown. The desire to revitalise, to reconnect, and even to reward will be stronger than ever post-COVID. So using these emotional triggers, we're going to serve up island experiences that fit with our product themes, narrating stories that will drive interest to our suppliers. To be able to narrate these stories well, we really want to work in conjunction with industry suppliers to make these as compelling and distinctive as possible. After 3 long winters, we want to stretch our season next year and make it as productive as possible in 2021. Therefore, the product team will be arranging a number of workshops to inform and develop our product proposals and itineraries with you, and to share the industry opportunities available to you. From promotions on our website to sales missions, fam trips and trade events, our aim is to provide you with as many sales and marketing tools to help your businesses recover the tourist market. Events are going to be one of the most challenging visitor sectors to recover, given the lead times to arrange and also the size of the groups. However, this is a fundamentally important element of Visit Jersey's strategy and is an essential ingredient to help stretch our season and productivity. And we'll be working and looking to every opportunity to attract visitors throughout the year. We're going to kickstart this with the Jersey Big Weekend in April, to engage our homegrown domestic visitor economy, showcasing the best that Jersey has to offer to our greatest ambassadors, our islanders. So we hope you'll be keen to participate in next year's initiative. Another idea, and this is at the very early stages of development at the moment, so bear with me, but the idea of a Jersey on sale proposal. It is very much a working title, but in the same way that Dubai promotes off-season travel with the likes of Dubai Shopping Festival and Singapore does its Singapore sale each year, we're really keen to explore a collaboration with hospitality, travel and retail to showcase Jersey in the second half of the year and attract off-peak travel. This will require a lot of coordination and collaboration from across our island businesses, so it's going to be no small task. But we think that challenging times require bold new initiatives. So this is certainly an idea we're keen to explore further. And we're also keen to explore sporting opportunities, both large and small. As travel starts to recover, how can Jersey engage with clubs, with schools, tournaments and events, the players, their families and their supporters to come to Jersey? I've already highlighted just how critical our access and trade relationships will be for our recovery. And given the lead times it takes to develop our distribution, I'm really pleased to say that this work is already well underway. The trade team have been extremely active in Q4, engaging and prospecting new businesses for 2021 through virtual fan trips, sales calls, exhibitions, trade media partnerships and educationals, and the feedback we're getting is incredibly positive. So we feel very optimistic about B2B opportunities for Jersey. In addition, we've run some extremely successful partnership campaigns in Q3 and Q4, and already have a number of marketing promotions planned for December and January with Condor, Blue Islands, British Airways, Jet2 and Loganair, and with further cooperative initiatives to come. The benefits of a cooperative marketing approach are that it allows Visit Jersey to focus on building destination awareness and tell those inspiring stories, while the partner activity drives for us greater reach and conversion. So we feel confident that this is a win-win approach next year to optimise destination awareness that converts to bookings. To underline the importance we place on this and to ensure we maximise the opportunities and our investments for next year, we're going to recruit a cooperative marketing manager to help develop even greater commercial relationships with our airline, ferry and trade partners. This is great news, and will provide a great addition to the wider team. So when the travel industry returns to some semblance of normality, we know that competition is going to be fierce. Our creative campaigns will be true to our brand credentials, tapping into the emotional triggers and motivations of our target audiences. It will be critical that we ensure competitive standout and awareness for Jersey in 2021. So as well as optimising every pound spent on our tactical marketing activity, I'm personally very keen to see how we can put together a case for more investment as a fighting fund for recovery to build really strong brand growth both next year and for the years ahead. Our plan for 2021 is to run advertising campaigns at key periods to promote travel in spring and summer and during the shoulder periods. And we're going to be reaching at least 7.3 million ABC1 adults in the UK with our advertising, so quite a large number. Running alongside this will be our always-on activity, which is so important to inspire audiences with relevant new content through our digital and social channels, and particularly PR next year. We know that PR is a really effective way of reaching standout, cut-through and interest to wide audiences. So this is so important that we continue the good work that started in the summer of this year into next. And we also have a couple of quite big website projects coming up in 2021, starting with the consumer website refresh, which is going to enable greater partner participation and usability. The Spring-Summer campaign is planned to launch from the 26th of December through to March. Of course, with the constantly changing situation with the pandemic, we have to hold our nerve and see how the situation in the UK pans out over the coming weeks. And we will pivot and adapt if we need to. However, we know there is pent-up demand to travel, and come Boxing Day is going to be the start of that dream planning stage. So we want Jersey to reach out to a captive audience at the right time and feel this is the right time to start our campaign. The Visit Jersey team are arranging marketing campaign workshops with our partners to go through the campaign plan and the assets that you can use. And that's going to come out with workshops on the 11th, 15th and 18th of December. And we'll run some more later on in January if required. But in summary, the message will be that Jersey is ready to welcome back visitors, capturing what sets us apart so well in our brand style. We will use media that provides wide reach and impact, which will be driven by national press and digital channels. Video will also be promoted through our own channels online, and in the new year we will deploy PR to activate that standout of our campaign messages. And to amplify the message and reach and to support our partners, we're really looking forward to sharing the assets with you to use, and of course we'll be working with our transport and trade partners to further widen our reach and awareness. So we've got a really busy few months ahead of us to ensure that Jersey is front of mind and inspiring travellers to make 2021 the year to rediscover our island. And finally, as I mentioned earlier on regarding our approach and our response to our recovery, we need to ensure we're thinking both short and long term. And I'm sure many of you will be wondering about our destination plan and that ambition for 1 million visitors by 2030. I'm sure it will come as no surprise that we do need to review that plan and our future strategy, and that's something we'll be working on in 2021. The boundaries will be reset, and as we work to recover our base as soon as we possibly can, we'll also be reviewing that strategic plan. This actually gives us an opportunity to consider what the pandemic has changed or escalated in terms of our business and consumer preferences. And without a doubt, tech and responsible tourism will be much more influential. The impact of COVID has also reaffirmed the importance of a sustainable and productive visitor economy that contributes to the diversity of our island economy and the positive impact it has on the quality of life for all. The other really important factor that the pandemic has underlined to many of us is how interconnected and reliant we are on other organisations, stakeholders and partners in responding to the crisis, and that we are much stronger working together. So as we look to our future, we'll be working with other stakeholders on a task force to think forward to how our future visitor economy might evolve and where we can innovate and shape a future tourism model that gives back to our island as much as it takes. So I hope this has been a helpful overview of our approach for 2021. As I highlighted at the beginning, this is our direction of travel, but we will have to continue to react rapidly to changes and adapt to circumstances as they arise. We know how tough it's been, and we know the dreadful challenges and decisions you've had to make this year. But I do feel optimistic about the recovery and the opportunities ahead to rebuild an even stronger, more resilient tourism sector in Jersey. We have a passionate and dedicated team who are looking forward to working with you to help realise this ambition. So we're now going to play a short video of one of our campaign executions for 2021. And then I'm really looking forward to welcoming Simon Calder to get his perspective on the travel industry and opportunities for Jersey. Thank you.
In Jersey, we have all the right measures in place for you to come and restore your balance here. Because we understand some people need a little more reassurance, while others are quite confident to take the first steps now. Some like to take things slow, others are straight into the fast lane. Some like to ponder and contemplate, others like to dive right in. Some are simply looking to unwind, while others want to reconnect again. Some like the old, others like the new. And some like it hot, others not. So come and experience Jersey for what we're known for, the little island with a big spirit, and find your perfect balance here with us.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really delighted to welcome Simon Calder, who's joining us this morning. Simon, hello and welcome. I think you probably need absolutely no introduction to our audience today, but I think it's probably fair to say that this has been a really busy year for you, probably not in the way that any of us would have liked, but we are delighted to have you join us today. So it's great to see you. Unfortunately, we can't welcome you in Jersey today, but we really look forward to that happening next year. So we'll be welcoming you back soon. I think you were last here in 2017, almost 3 years ago, or just over 3 years ago. So it's well due time for you to return to us. So before we start our chat and we open up to questions, just wanted to say to the audience, please don't hesitate to add in your questions on the Q&A session on the chat box, and we'll try to get through as many of those as we possibly can. Simon, I think you can see some of those questions coming through, so we will adapt between the two of us. But if you don't mind, Simon, first of all, just maybe have a chat with you in terms of where we're at, what we've seen so far. What a year it's been, and you know, perhaps you could just start us off with your thoughts on the news this morning around the vaccine. So we saw 90-year-old Margaret Keenan and then William Shakespeare in Coventry, both receiving their vaccine. So this feels that, you know, amidst all of the darkness and the gloom, some really positive news. So Simon, how are you feeling this morning, and what do you think the future lies for vaccines?
Well, this is absolutely, and good morning, everybody, an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I'm so regretting that I'm not there with you. Amanda and I have been talking about this for many weeks, and for a while it looked as though I would possibly be able to get to be there with you. Of course, that was not to be. However, yes, of course, the timing of this event could not be better. And indeed, I think it's fair to say that actually the NHS in England actually checked with Amanda before setting the time and the date for the vaccine to make sure that that we began with a spring in our step. It is transformational in many ways, partly because, well, it was interesting to hear the Kate Bingham, the boss of the vaccine program in the UK. How is this going to change? The first thing she said on Radio 4 this morning was, we'll all be going on holiday next summer. We will all be travelling on aircraft, which I would like to say some of us will be travelling on ferries. Thank you very much. But it was really interesting that she picked out travel as the most significant change that will take place. It's going to be a very different year, 2021, but actually, out of all the destinations that I'm surveying, from Ireland to New Zealand, I must say that Jersey is in the kind of top 1% in terms of how optimistic I see the prospects for the island. All sorts of reasons for that. You've touched on many of them in your great presentation, and personally I think you should get your own show. It's terrific, really informative and positive. So yeah, people will be, as from this morning, with a different mindset. It's not kind of, oh gosh, how long is this going to go on? Who do I need to be afraid of? It's going to be, okay, so let's work out what's going to happen. And of course, the great thing is that as vaccination becomes more prevalent right across, of course, Jersey, Channel Islands, England and the other nations of the UK, people will be, of course, delighted that the most at risk are protected. And once you get beyond that, then of course you can start to think, well, okay, if a 20-year-old catches coronavirus, that's bad news. But the much worse news would be if they then infected a grandparent. And so if the grandparents are protected, then everybody is in a much better frame of mind. And I must say the sense of having a campaign which starts on Boxing Day is absolutely right. You mentioned the term captive audience. We certainly will be. And I tell you, a really important aspect of that is multi-generational visits. And this is, I think, is something that's going to be so important for Jersey in 2021. First of all, people are going to be, I think, the majority of people are going to be absolutely delighted with the prospect of travelling. They're going to be much closer to their to grandparents and indeed to grandchildren. And I think I would be looking very much at, particularly as an accommodation provider, what can you offer that is going to appeal to parents, children, because that's going to be so important. And of course, the great thing about Jersey is that you have got stuff which will appeal to every single segment of that vast demographic. So yeah, teenagers can be going off doing all the mad stuff that privately I enjoy hugely. Of course, wonderful location for younger children, and traditionally, of course, Jersey has always been a great hit with older people. So all looking very good. And even Brexit, if I may, and I'm sorry to mention it at 10:35, but clearly a lot going on there. Again, Jersey is one of probably 0.1% of destinations for which whatever the outcome of Brexit is, it will not be negative. And indeed, I think it will actually prove a positive, although clearly the economic damage that it may cause is another issue. So yeah, reasons to be cheerful, many of them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Simon. Gosh, you covered off a lot of topics there, which I'd love to delve a little bit deeper in. I think that multi-generational point is really important. It's something that we've been talking about a lot as well in terms of what Jersey can offer. I mean, I've only been here for 4 months, And I'm just amazed at what I'm still discovering. Everywhere you turn, there's just such a rich depth of experiences and things to see and do, open spaces, beautiful beaches. I know I'm preaching to the converted here. I saw an interesting stat as well, because we were talking about who we think will be first to return to travelling once we emerge into the new normal. And I think originally people were saying it could be younger audiences, but now I'm reading that actually it's going to be the older audiences, because they're going to be front of the queue in terms of when they get that vaccine. So I think it is looking very, very positive. I mean, what's your sense of what's going on in the world at the moment, Simon? And it's a very broad question, but from the UK traveller perspective, what's their mindset like?
It's really, really important question, and that because of it, of course, there is the context of, yes, people will be wanting to travel a huge amount, partly to make up for lost time, and that demographic that you're talking about there, older people. Well, I'm afraid this terrible, terrible crisis has kind of reminded people that, you know, you've got to make the most of your time on Earth, bluntly. And my heart goes out to all the people who've been touched personally by tragedies related to coronavirus. But it will, I think, fuel a lot of interest. And look, I've been, of course, reading up on what's happening in Jersey this morning, but I've also been momentarily distracted earlier by what's happening in Greece. OK, this is just a tiny example of what I think is going to be a huge concern next year. Greece have suddenly said, oh, by the way, you might have booked your trip to Greece for Christmas, for New Year. You're going to have a PCR test within 72 hours of arriving. Fill in a passenger locator form at least 24 hours before arriving. When you get here, you'll have another test on arrival. And whatever that test says, you're quarantining for 10 days. Just if we'd been talking a year ago, any of those would have just been just impossible to contemplate. But because those are, you know, people, that there will be thousands of people getting that news thinking, oh no, you know, I booked in to go to Athens and explore the islands and I can't do that. You know, it's just symbolic of the very, very swift changes that people can see. And while, as you mentioned in your presentation, you can expect booking horizons, planning horizons to be much shorter, even then, you know, here we are, the rule comes into effect in 9 days' time. That's not giving people much chance. One thing we do know is that right through this, from the UK's point of view, the common travel area, which of course includes the Channel Islands as well as the Isle of Man and Ireland, has never had any quarantine requirement for anybody coming moving within that into the UK, which is half the battle, and I can't see any chance of that happening. And secondly, of course, well, I've right through the summer been championing what Jersey was doing to manage visitors way ahead of the rest of the UK, rest of the British Isles, in terms of testing and so on. And clearly we're at the moment in a difficult position in Jersey, but I think people will kind of remember that Jersey was very, very good at what it was proposing in terms of welcoming people. And furthermore, it is just so emotional. Jersey, British, easy to reach. If for some reason there's a problem with the flights, the ferries are always there. So many reasons why you are going to feel comforted about, well, I think even the fact that you're on an island, particularly one washed by the second highest tides in the world, is going to feel kind of comfortable and safe in a way that perhaps a wider region of France might not. So there's, yeah, emotionally, there will be lots of people who will want to get the reassurance that comes with Jersey and not to have the uncertainty that comes with planning a holiday pretty much anywhere else. I mean, you'll recall, of course, the when finally the UK said, right, we're going to get rid of blanket quarantine, you can all go to Spain. Well, within 2 weeks, you couldn't go to Spain anymore without quarantining for 14 days. So many people were badly affected by that. I think there will be a great deal, quite rightly, of concern that this might happen again.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, we were talking earlier on, Simon, you know, that sort of island mentality as well, in terms of, you know, I was talking to a colleague in Australia who was saying they're seeing a lot more interest in sort of alternative destinations, if you like, and sort of that safety and security that an island can, you know, in people's mind provide, and that reassurance. So again, another reason why Jersey is really well placed, I believe, and as do many people, including your good self. I think also, you know, the welcome as well, and that was something that I was really struck by, you know, when I arrived at the end of July. A really, really strong, warm welcome. And I know that that's not necessarily been the case in other places around the world as well. And I think that balance of safety and reassurance has played in really well in terms of, you know, visitors coming to Jersey. And again, I talk to taxi drivers a lot, great barometer of what's going on, particularly from a tourism perspective. And they were saying to me that, you know, in August and September, they were picking up customers and travellers and holidaymakers who hadn't thought about coming to Jersey, but were just completely spellbound and blown away by how fabulous it is. And, you know, saying, why haven't we been here before? So for me and the team at Visit Jersey, we're really keen on sort of, you know, shouting about what Jersey's got to offer, and making sure that Jersey is on people's bucket lists for next year and for beyond. So I think there's lots to play for here in terms of the future for us. We've had a question that's come in, and I don't know whether you're going to be able to answer this, whether you're in the know, Simon, but really value your perspective on this. Do you think there'll be vaccine-free travel bridges between the UK and Jersey?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And look, there's been an awful lot of talk about whether you, Amanda, and me will need a certificate of vaccination against COVID. And for example, the chief executive of Qantas said, yeah, I expect we'll be demanding that for everybody who wants to step on board the aircraft. Now, that raises a lot of concerns in that Margaret Keenan, bless her, the First Lady to be vaccinated this morning, I can absolutely guarantee she does not have an internationally accepted certificate saying Margaret Keenan was vaccinated at Coventry and Warwickshire Hospital at 6:45 on the 8th of December. She won't have that, and that's a real concern. And actually, talking to travel health professionals, they're tearing their hair out because people are being vaccinated, but they're not getting anything to prove it internationally. And that means that if, for example, let's say another island nation, Malta, says, right, everybody's got to have a vaccine. Well, poor old Margaret is going to have to go and get another vaccination, which will annoy her, be unnecessary medically, and also deprive somebody else of the jab. And that's a serious problem. I've given this a great deal of thought. I've talked to a lot of travel health professionals. Clearly, I'm not, so take that with a pinch of salt. But I very much see that once we get the most vulnerable people vaccinated, there will be a gradual easing of concerns. So, yes, I mean, there will be, I think, a continued recognition between Jersey and Great Britain that, of course, you can travel between the two with understandably more prescription in Jersey, being an island, than you would have in the UK. But I don't think we are. I don't think we're going to see that you're going to be turning up with your old yellow fever vaccination book at this stage. There will certainly be some countries that will demand it, but I don't think that the kind of the leading destinations will be involved in that. I could be wrong, of course, but I think once we see the appalling death rate fall, once it becomes clear that the hospitals can manage outbreaks here and there, I think there will be everyone will calm down. I'm not saying they shouldn't be very, very alert at the moment, but I think it will be all right. But a good question anyway, and interested, of course, in your view.
My view, yeah, who knows? I don't know what's going to be agreed. I do wonder if though maybe it will actually become something that consumers actually ask for, and to that point that you've just made in terms of if the likes of airlines are going to, particularly Middle Eastern carriers, are going to be asking for certificates, and other destinations are going to require it. It could be that as travellers, we just decide that we want that. You know, I've travelled quite a lot myself, and I do carry around my my vaccination sheet, so I know what I've had and when I need it topping up and what have you. But yeah, I think to your point, should it be legalised? Probably, you know, a legal document, probably not. But it might be that we, as individuals, want that certification, and, you know, maybe it feel, you know, psychologically it could just feel as though, yes, that freedom to travel and that reassurance piece as well. But we will see. We've had another question in from Marcus Calvani. Morning, Marcus. Hope you're well. So I'll just read this out if you don't mind. So as we both said, so much to offer to so many generations in Jersey. And Marcus thinks that one of the things that we've struggled with over the years is being too much to too many, and hence the message has probably been diluted. So something for us to talk about from a marketing perspective. So Marcus asked Simon, how would you recommend we deal with all of these messages? How should we get the message out that we have so much to all demographics without it being blurred and not clear, simple and punchy? So yes, if you could write our marketing proposition for us, Simon, that would be great. Yeah. Words, how would you sum up what Jersey's got to offer?
Okay, well, that is such a good question, and thank you for that, Andreas. Marcus, forgive me. Let's sort of break it down a bit. So there is, for example, and I know that we have people watching from Jersey War Tunnels, from the Jersey Kayak Experience. Those are fundamental elements for different people, sometimes the same people, of the Jersey experience. And going beyond, if you look at places with great icons, let's look at Australia, since you mentioned that earlier. So you've got the Reef, the Rock, and the Opera House, and that, of course, immediately identifies Australia. It gives people things to tick off their list, but it also means that people who go to Australia ignore all the other wonders that are there. So I'm not completely convinced that that going for a great icon is sufficient. And because it is such a complex market that you and your excellent colleagues have to respond to, I'm not sure that going much beyond kind of Jersey, a warm welcome, and pointing out the fact that it's a heck of a lot closer to the equator than is, say, Newcastle. And hi to Jet2, delighted you're going to be flying from there this next summer. I'm not sure that I would want necessarily to start breaking down the appeal. But I absolutely appreciate that it's good to have a single thing to hang on to. So I guess, well, the answer would be to do a Bilbao, which nobody had heard of this, I exaggerate, of course, northern Spanish city until the mid-1990s, when they spent 100 million euros on the Guggenheim, this extraordinary building. I don't know if you've been there, Amanda. I have. Great building from the outside. Load of old tosh on the inside, if you don't mind me saying so. Apologies to anybody from Bilbao who's in here. But of course, it's a fantastic beacon for people. And yes, if you've got £100 million, then that's absolutely terrific. Absent that, I just think play on all the stuff that's happening. Real Housewives of Jersey. My goodness me. I believe we've got blue badge people watching. I want to go on a Real Housewives of Jersey tour because, of course, the first Real Housewife of Jersey was Lily Langtry. My goodness, it kind of writes itself. So I'm very, very keen to that there is, gosh, something for everyone. That sounds, as I'm saying it, pretty lame, but it does reflect what there is. And so I wouldn't fret too much about wanting to go for something great and iconic. Yes, and I'm just looking at Marcus's question here. So Marcus, I will come back to you. Actually, clearly I've got all my notes here, and I will. Here we are. How about this? Inspiring journeys, serenity, indulgence, and adventure in a single accessible island. There we are. You can have that.
That's brilliant. You've just saved us a lot of money in creative development, Simon. Thank you. Thank you. It's one that we struggle with, and I struggle with, as a marketer. What is the essence of Jersey? How do you capture that, put it in a bottle and sell it? I don't have the answers yet. I think we've got all of the ingredients. It's how it's packaged, and I watch this space, but we'll be working on that. I'm going to move to a question from Malcolm Lewis from Longville Manor. Morning, Malcolm. And he asks, will sustainable destinations now have a significant edge on others? And if so, do we have a vision of an enhanced island-wide sustainable strategy? Easy for me to say. And how can the industry help?
Well, look, Jersey is so far ahead of the rest of certainly the British Isles, Europe, I would say. The Greenways, I mean, absolutely magnificent. They were around in the early 1990s. Do heck, I know that Keith Beecham is taking part, but my goodness me, saying actually we think it's really important to have walking, to have hiking as safe and beautiful and accessible and so on. So Jersey is already there. Now, I have to caveat this by saying that every single survey I have read since the dawn of time has had travellers, particularly British travellers, saying, yes, we absolutely want to be as green as possible. We want to be respectful. We want to be sustainable. And then actually their behaviour suggests perhaps otherwise. However, there is most definitely a movement happening, and I think it's coming particularly from young people who are slightly appalled at their parents' generation's behaviour, and they really, really do want some change. But goodness me, Jersey already a long way down the road, or indeed along the lovely green lane leading through the fields. So yes, I think it's important, but I wouldn't. I would put proximity, certainty above being environmentally wise, although clearly it is.
And I think also, Simon, how can Jersey work together? I mean, I think we've got so much in terms of our credentials already, our natural credentials, if you like, and we've got so many sort of talented people and passionate people working in Jersey. So I don't think it's just for Visit Jersey to develop that. We can work with the other, the digital jerseys, with the national parks, with the zoo. Conservation is hugely important. And rather than it becoming preachy and worthy, it's putting together packages that enhance an experience and make you feel good about yourself, rather than having to be to the detriment of an experience overall. The EV bikes that we've got in Jersey, I mean, they have just gone great guns this year. This in terms of great way to get out and about and see Jersey, and give you a little bit of extra help if you need to get up some of those hills. So again, how can we use that? How can we use tech to help with that experience and the itineraries? So
but electric bikes absolutely there. I mean, if I may, I spent the weekend in Gibraltar, which shares from a lot of tourism perspectives quite a lot of DNA with Jersey. That's exactly what they've done. They've rolled out. I'm here all week. They've rolled out e-bikes as a great way to see the to see the territory. In fact, I don't know how many people have been to Gibraltar, but the traffic is terrible, and I'm a fearless London cyclist. I mean, Jersey, of course, is a dream, particularly if you look at things like the railway path. What a wonderful transformation! And again, that's been around since, I'm going to say, 1987, and somebody will heckle, but that's always been a really important part of the offer. And if you can get to the far end of the island without breaking a sweat, that's all the more appealing for a lot of people.
Totally agree. And also longer term, I'd like to look at, what tools can we provide everybody in Jersey, but our visitors in particular, in terms of making those choices, as I say, not to the detriment of their experience, but little touches, little impacts, little changes make a big impact. So
yes.
turning down your temperature, your room temperature by 1 degree, that can have a huge impact. So I'll stop evangelising about that opportunity there. We've got another question that's come in from Dominic Jones. Good morning, one of our leading restaurateurs in Jersey, and been at the forefront in terms of responding to the pandemic with tech. And Dominic asks, what role will food and restaurants play in post-pandemic tourism? Will it be different from pre-COVID?
Dominic, first of all, to you, your fantastic counterparts in Jersey's other great restaurants, to all your fantastic staff, I am really, really sorry it's been such a tough year for you, and I have the greatest of respect for what you've been able to achieve in such difficult circumstances. Yeah, absolutely. Food and drink will be uppermost, and it was so interesting hearing from Amanda about forming habits. I mean, we've acquired all sorts of habits. I mean, I flying back from Gibraltar, for example, it was an absolutely packed plane, and clearly there were a number of people uncomfortable with it because they'd not been, having strangers on either side so close for many months. I think we will see the family grouping being absolutely core. We of course. The measures that you've put in will be important. Of course, there will need to be some kind of continuum from letting everything go to on the way there. People are going to need to be reassured, but they absolutely desperately want great food and drink served in a convivial ambience by great staff. That. It's become really, really important because we've been sort of stuck at home with ready meals for most of the year. So that will absolutely flourish. And the other thing is, and this is anecdotal, so I haven't done a survey, but just so many people in England have just been saying to me, right, OK, thank goodness, 2nd of December, lockdown list, we're just going to go out and eat and drink as much as we possibly can, partly because it's great, but partly also to say thanks to the restaurateurs. So food and drink, absolutely compelling. And it's one of those things that yeah, we were going back to Marcus's excellent question. People are not going to say, even with your great restaurant, Dominic, oh yeah, I'm going to Jersey because of Dominic Jones. What they will do is go home and say, oh, I went to Dominic's restaurant. Oh, it's fantastic. This is all fresh and beautiful and great service, and we had a lovely evening. So that's what they're going to be saying. So it's kind of reinforcing, but absolutely crucial.
Yeah, and it's all about the customer experience as well as the tech as well, isn't it? So I've been into a number of places where Dominic's team have been leading the way in terms of using tech in a hygiene perspective, and as many of my team will know, I'm a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to tech, so I've not been the quickest to adapt. So then to have that amazing customer service from people that smile and help you through the process makes a huge difference too. So yeah, lots of opportunities there. We've had another question that's come in from Robert McKenzie from CI Travel. Morning, Robert. And Robert asked, do you think that the high street travel agent will have a more important role to play in 2021, given all the struggles from refunds from airlines, etc., or is their future under threat? So now due to the general demise of bricks and mortar retailers. Didn't read that out very well, but hopefully you got that.
Yeah, such an important question. And I am absolutely convinced, and I'm doing everything I possibly can to say to people, go and see someone who you trust. And this has been such an important thing. I mean, I haven't looked, but probably this morning I will have got another dozen very, very sad stories. People still seeking refunds from online travel agents for trips they should have taken in April. And certainly we have really serious concerns in the UK about how consumer protection is working, or rather not working. I've always said, either if it's a simple transaction, if I'm just getting a trip to booking a flight to Jersey on BA, on Jet2, on Logan Air, on Blue Islands, I'm just going to book that online myself because I can. But for anything that involves any degree of complexity, of course, a travel agent is great. And as many people have found to their benefit this year, yeah, booking a proper package holiday through a real travel agent is great. And hats off to Jet2, incidentally, who have been are absolutely outstanding in looking after their holidaymakers. And one really good positive thing about the way that there's going to be such an expansion on Jet2 is that the whole Jet2 constituency is incredibly loyal. They are absolutely respectful of the way that the company has behaved. And so, yeah, I can imagine there will be, from the day after Boxing Day onwards, lots of people going into their travel agent, booking a Jet2 holiday to Jersey, because first of all, they've got a face-to-face contact. Secondly, they know that they can rely on the company to deliver what they have promised. So, yeah, human contact, absolutely essential. Expertise, professionalism, all those things I think will come to the fore.
Great, I completely agree. I think it's just been such a desperately hard time in that industry, but it just goes to show that, you know, the value that travel professionals are providing, more so than ever. So long may that continue. We have got lots more questions that are coming through, and we're on the hour at the moment. So I'm just going to run through these quite quickly. And
sure. Okay. I'll quick fire.
So, although keep talking if you've got the time. So we've got a question from Jennifer Ellinger, who says, we're working on a geopark in Jersey, which will be fantastic news. Do you think this will help us bring more visitors? Also, we're looking at creating larger art galleries. So do we think having a Tate Jersey would also be beneficial? I love that, but
Tate Jersey would be great, absolutely. And of course, so critical for extending the season. I mean, St Ives does, well, 2020 notwithstanding, does brilliantly well because it has a it's got a Tate there. It's wonderful. So yes, what we're looking at here is not reasons for people to come to Jersey for the first time, but most certainly for people who've been there, great. Geopark, absolutely opening up. New art offering, I'm going over there. People are wanting to have reasons to come back, so that's really important.
Yeah, completely agree, and we're looking forward to working on initiatives like that. Hi, Chris Ambler from Jersey Electricity. He was asking about ecotourism and views on the opportunity for Jersey in this market. I think we've sort of touched on that, but I just wanted to highlight that because it comes back to the point I was making about us all working together, so not working in silos and in isolation. So I think that, you know, that there's lots of ways that we can work to differentiate ourselves on that. So just a shout out to Chris for that. And then I saw there was another question from Jemima. What value do we think the Real Housewives of Jersey TV show will have? Well, you've already touched on that, Simon. I know you're going to be binge watching over Christmas, aren't you?
Well, it's just brilliant. I mean, look at some of the lockdown hits. Selling Sunset, for example. I mean, it's just, you know, everybody now wants to go to Malibu, to Beverly Hills. It's just extraordinary. So people are, of course, they're focusing on the couches, and that's great. But they're also looking at the backdrop and thinking, wow, I want to go there. I never knew that. So it's absolutely priceless. And yes, it will be my preferred viewing. But again, absolutely critical that independent businesses on the island actually capitalise on that and start offering trips. I would absolutely sign up for one.
Will you come and be our tour guide, Simon?
I'll certainly come and review it.
Fantastic, thank you. No, I'm really sorry, but we are starting to run out of time now, and I know we're just getting some more questions coming through.
Great.
Apologies, I will follow up with you on those another time, if I may. There was one question I wanted to ask you, Simon, and that's around reputation for Jersey, because at the moment it's really a tough time. We've had the last couple of weeks have been really hard. And, you know, my team and I and you know, our colleagues in the island have been talking about, is this going to affect, you know, the positive reputation that Jersey built over the summer? You know, I've spoken to you about this. I'm hoping that, you know, today's news will be tomorrow's chip paper. So I'm still very optimistic. What's your perspective on that in terms of reputation?
Look, of course, I am so concerned for the great people in Jersey at the moment and what you're having to go through, and the clearly I'm watching the numbers, but I'm doing that from a kind of professional point of view. I think what people will remember from this year is not, oh dear, Jersey's having a bit of a surge, that's bad. They're actually much more concerned about which tier am I in and what's going to happen on the 16th of December, etc. And so I think what will still come through is that, well, let's have a look at the destinations which were most responsive. Let's have a look at which places did everything they could to welcome people in safety as much as they could, and Jersey's pretty much top of that list. So I wouldn't, I'm desperately sorry that things are as they are at the moment in Jersey, but I don't think that will have any significant long-term impact on tourists coming to Jersey.
Yeah, and the work that everybody's done in terms of embracing the Visit Safe Charter and putting those protocols in place, it's a really, really safe place to come and live in and to visit. So yeah, I agree with you. My final question, Simon, if you can indulge me on this. I talked a bit about habits changing, and I think working in the travel, tourism and hospitality industry, as I said earlier on, we've always been at the forefront of having to deal with catastrophes and challenges. Yeah. We've always bounced back so quickly. What do you think will have changed for the better as we come into bright new dawn and the new normal?
People's appreciation for holidays will absolutely increase. People's care for their loved ones, and that includes having great experiences with them. That will become really important. People's caution about not wishing to stray so far. I mean, lots of people got stuck on the wrong side of other people's lockdowns. That's clearly not going to happen in Jersey. And just the idea that a holiday is building memories, and that is such an important aspect of any trip. And of course, there's so many different memories you can build in Jersey. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be traveling there for far too many decades, and every trip, every chapter of my life has got a special experience from Jersey. So yeah, it's I'm, as I say, much more positive for Jersey than for the vast majority of other destinations, although of course come Boxing Day there will begin an arms race from various other destinations. Jersey has to be there, has to be relevant, has to be visible, and of course well, one thing you can take for granted is the great welcome and the great experiences.
Completely agree. Thank you, Simon. Unfortunately, I think our time is nearing an end now. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your flexibility, for your enthusiasm. I mean, none of this, to our audience, I didn't have to brief Simon on any of this. This is all, from Simon's heart and his experience. So it is such a joy to have your enthusiasm and your expertise. I'd also like to say really a thank you on behalf of everything you do to represent our industry, travel, hospitality, transport, and our travellers. It has been a really tough year. You've been a very busy gentleman, but you've always put our needs at the forefront and been such a great champion for us. So I think I say this on behalf of everybody. Thank you for everything you do for our industry. It really means a lot. And hopefully we can welcome you back to Jersey next year. So thank you, Simon. And thank you to everybody who joined us. I think we had about 160 people logged on today, which is absolutely terrific. We're recording this session, so if you want to watch it again or tell your friends and family and neighbours about it, please do. Encourage you to watch. I hope you found the briefing helpful today. As I said at the start, it's not been in our typical format. And what I wanted to do today was lay out the groundwork for how we can work together and rebuild our tourism economy in 2021 and beyond. And I think the future will be good for Jersey, but it is, just navigating through these difficult times at the moment. It really has been a dreadful year for us. And sadly, this isn't going to be the Christmas any of us imagined we'd have. But I'd just like to say on behalf of Visit Jersey's board and Visit Jersey as a team, that we wish you a peaceful and restful Christmas. And we're really looking forward to working with you in 2021 and making it a much better year. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support. We look forward to working with you, and here's to a new year. Bye-bye.